オリエント急行殺人事件続きプレイしていきます。今回はポアロのパートですね。これは？お金。これは、これ見覚えあるよね。これスザンヌ・モロの部屋にあったメガネというかサングラスじゃない？
A pair of women's glasses. Was Ratchet
やっぱり女性用メガネ。そうですよね。なんでこんなところに？スザンヌが亡くなった後、メガネなくなってましたよね、確か。あそこでなくなってたのがここで出てくるんだ。お札。
There must be several tens of thousands of dollars in this bag.
はい、かなりの大金ですよね。じゃあこれ倒れてるのがアチツワディさんか。
The victim was stabbed. Apparently the method of choice in this case.
刺殺、刺されてますね。スーツケース。はい、衣服と鍵と、なんだろうこれ。
Various clothes in his suitcase. Mr. Waddy was obviously planning to leave this city.
はい、キーホルダー。これはアラビア語かな？これイラクの国旗ですね。
A bunch of keys. If, as seems likely, Mr. Waddy is a resident of Geneva, then one of these may belong to his home there.
ジュネーブ。ジュネーブはどこから出てきたんだ？パスポートだ。ワディ・アジズ。1978年9月2日生まれ。これは出生国ですかね。バグダッド。ここにジュネーブっていう情報書いてある？
Mr. Waddy's Swiss passport. I'll see if I can find a match on the internet to confirm his identity.
早速スマホで調べてる。便利な時代ですね。はい、名前がアチツ・ワディ。国籍がスイスのパスポートだからスイス人か。都市がこれジュネーブっていうのがパスポートで判断できたのかな？さっきキーホルダー見たときにポアロがジュネーブって言ってたので、ジュネーブ。年齢が45かな。はい、検索結果一致。はい、合ってた。
I'm right again. That happens to me a lot.
そっか、前回の仮面の男がアチツワディだと思ってたんですけど、この亡くなった人がアチツワディだったんだね。ということは、仮面の男は列車に乗ってる13人目の殺人犯か。何か落ちてた。これもパスポートですね。ラチェットのパスポートだ。偽造のパスポートだよね。
A false passport with Ratchet's picture. Clark, Ratchet. How many others? Now he will become Enrico Caldo.
エンリコ・カルド。
Ratchet changed his identity as often as his socks.
名前がいっぱいありますね。はい、ラチェットのパスポート押収しました。新しいノードバックパックに入っていたお金。カイロでの取引の代金。 アームストロング事件の身代金。こっちなんじゃないかな。
According to the information I have, this is a solid choice.
I'm sorry I couldn't catch the suspect, Mr. Poirot.
There is no need to apologize, mademoiselle. Your efforts were marvelous. I found some information about Mr. Wadi.
Did you access the FBI database?
Don't worry, my little gray cells were enough. However, the database may confirm the origin of these banknotes.
No need. I included them when I continued my investigation.
Excellent.
おー、ジョアンナの携帯の写真からドル紙幣の番号を見つけ出そう。あー、この番号を照合するんだね。まず頭の2つは NA で一致してて、215までも同じ。末尾のアルファベットが C と G と S。なので、ここはないですね。うん。次。これはなんだ？
No, Joanna. That doesn't track.
はい。NA の G。この辺は ?2150。あ、2203G。まず一つ目見つけましたね。これだ。はい、これ。
Hey, I'm a pretty good detective after all.
あと二つ。このページはもうないですね。NA の S。あ、これかな？ NA21518880S。はい、これ。
That's it. No rookie mistake there.
あともう一つ。最後が649だから、これだ。NA21527649 の C。
That is a great detective job. Mr. Poirot, it's part of the ransom money from the Armstrong case.
You are surprised?
I suppose not. So Ratchet had it in an account at the Banque du Lac.
It would seem so. He knew the serial numbers on the banknotes could be traced, and he could not spend it, so he stashed it there.
But now he's run low, something he didn't count on. He hopes enough time has passed so he can begin to spend the ransom money.
Ah, there is something else he didn't count on.
What's that?
He didn't count on you, Detective Locke, and your tenacity.
Thank you. But we are still left with a murderer on the loose.
But we progress. We know Mr. Wadi had an appointment with Ratchet. He had a bag full of money and a passport with Ratchet's photo, but a new name. What is your opinion about the passport?
はい。ラチェットのパスポートはどうだどうだ。ラチェットはまた偽の名前を名乗り、身を隠そうとしていた。パスポートならラチェットの正体がわかるだろう。まあ、偽造のパスポートなので正体はわからないよね。だからこっちでしょうかね。ラチェットはまた偽の名前を名乗り、身を隠そうとしていた。
I discovered that he was arrested in Armenia for trafficking in stolen art and was supposed to be arraigned in January. Once again, he changed his identity and vanished.
You are correct, mademoiselle. He also told me that he was threatened, and that threatening letter we found in his room was real. He had to disappear once again.
はい、殺人犯はなぜ金を置いていったのか。取るのは危険すぎたから。動機は金ではないから。ね、これは動機は金ではないからじゃないですかね。
The bag isn't very big. He could have easily run away with it. If he didn't take it, it was deliberate. He wasn't interested in the money. If the motive wasn't money, it leaves passion or revenge for motive.
So, Detective Locke, what do you think? Passion or revenge?
待って。動機は恋愛のもつれ。これはないでしょう。ただちょっとわかんないんですよね、まだね。 復讐だとしても、このアチズ・ワディは、デイジー事件とはまた別の関係者なのかな。動機は復讐。
Revenge seems like an obvious motive to me. The murderer carefully followed Wadi from the fountain to the new meeting place despite Wadi's precautions. That is cold and careful.
Excellent. We cannot yet know for certain, but that is a sound psychological analysis. We have an idea of the motive. It is the same motive as that of our 12 would-be murderers on the train. But we still must know who was under that mask.
殺人者は誰か。ラチェットを殺した人物と同じ。ラチェットが雇った人物。13人目の殺人者が12人の殺人者とは別の人だと想定した場合に、なんでその12人の殺人者と一緒になって殺さなかったのかっていうのが謎だよね。でもなんかその刃物が違うって言ってたから、ラチェットを殺した人物と同じではないんだよね。おそらく。だからラチェットが雇った人物、じゃないかな。もしかしたらだから、ノアはもう死んでるから、他にも共謀者がいたってことかな。ラチェットが雇った人物。
What if Ratchet hired a hitman to kill Wadi in order to not leave a witness?
An interesting possibility, but it is much more likely that Mr. Wadi's killer is also Ratchet's killer.
Of course, if the two were stabbed in revenge, and both are tied to the Armstrong case.
Yes, so our murderer is linked to the Armstrong case. The money is linked to the Armstrong case. But these glasses that I found in the bag, they must have something to do with this case too.
Wait, those glasses mean something to me.
はい、ここで出てきましたね。はい、デイジー・アームストロングの子守スザンヌ・モローのメガネ。
Wait, I know. I've seen these. They belong to Susan Moreau, little Daisy's nurse. I remember seeing them in her bedroom, but they were gone the day she died.
I remember the press saying that the nurse had committed suicide.
I've always believed otherwise, and the glasses are proof that she was killed by Ratchet or his accomplice. He took those glasses. I've always had a gut feeling, but now, Mr. Poirot, now I have proof Suzanne was innocent.
Yes, you do. But the question I ask myself is this. Why did Ratchet keep these glasses?
なぜこのメガネを持っていたのか。殺した記念品。偽の証拠として使う予定だった。これどっちだろう。これじゃないかな。偽の証拠として使う予定だった。
Ratchet used to leave fake evidence at the scene of his crimes to incriminate others. He did the same thing to frame Suzanne.
Possibly. But keeping an object belonging to his victim as a souvenir of the murder, that is the behavior of a fetishist.
Now that you mention it, in my investigation at the time, I had already found Daisy's hairclip in Ratchet's cabin. And now we find Suzanne's glasses in a bag for Ratchet.
2 objects from 2 victims of Ratchet. He is a trophy hunter.
Okay, we managed to clear up some of the gray areas. What now?
The bag only contained a fraction of the $1 million ransom of the Armstrong case. The rest must still be in a secure place. I will make a wager with you that it is the Banque du Lac in Geneva where Mr. Wadi worked.
Wadi was also the keeper of Ratchet's secrets. They were killed by the same murderer.
Agreed. Well, there is nothing more we can do here except wait for the police. Prepare yourself for a long evening with the police. We have a lot of explaining to do.
And after that?
A visit to Geneva, perhaps?
ベネチア12月18日午後11時49分。
Here you are at last. I was worried about you.
We just left the police station. We had to explain to the Italian police that we were not murderers.
What? Another murder?
I'll tell you when we're underway. Are all passengers and staff aboard?
Yes, everyone is here. We were waiting for you.
Excellent. Let's not waste any more time. We have to make a longer than usual stop in Lausanne.
What? How long?
Long enough to do a little banking in Geneva.
はい、次はジュネーブが舞台なんですね。
But this is madness. A 13th murderer of Ratchet?
Mon ami, he was not well liked.
But Monsieur Michel would have seen anyone enter Ratchet's compartment. And there were another 10 people milling about, taking their turn at stabbing him. How could they not notice an uninvited killer?
なぜミスター・ミシェルは殺人犯を目撃しなかったのか。嘘の証言をしたから。瓶古物井でタバコを吸っていたから。この嘘の証言をしたからにすると、他の12人の殺人犯もその13人目の殺人犯を知ってるってことになっちゃうから、こっちかな？瓶古物井でタバコを吸っていたからかな。その間に13人目の殺人者が刺したんじゃない？
The 13th killer could have acted when Michel was smoking on the platform at Vinkovsky. But even after the train departed, Michel was absent from his post at the end of the corridor several times the night of the murder. I must know where he really was and when.
はい、犯人はまだ列車に乗っているのか。実際12人の容疑者以外にもまだ尋問してない人物いるもんね。はい、乗っている。そうだ。
Yes, he most certainly returned to the train.
How can you be sure?
It's obvious. I mean, I hope Mr. Poirot agrees.
Please continue, Detective Locke.
犯人がまだ列車に乗っているという根拠は、ベネチアの駅の方向に逃げていったから、イタリア発の一番良いチケットが列車にあるから、列車からいなくなった者が誰もいないから、これでしょうね。発車してからいなくなった人物って誰もいないもんね。はい。
All the passengers and crew are still aboard. If the killer of Mr. Wadi had remained in Venice, we would have noticed right away that someone was missing, and we could have alerted the authorities.
I promise you, I made certain everyone was aboard before we embarked.
Book, calm yourself.
Calm myself? But we're back where we started. There is still another murderer on my train. Wait a moment. Can I change my mind about my verdict? Can we turn everyone over to the police?
Everyone? Including ourselves?
What? No. No. It's a nightmare.
Let us take it step by step, my friend. We can start by eliminating all of the members of the Ratchet jury.
ラチェットに裁きを下し処刑もした12人とは誰か。はい、アーバスノット、デブナム、ドラゴミロフさん、ホスカレリ氏、ハードマン、ハバード夫人、マックイーン、マスターマン、ミシェル、アンドレニ伯爵、オールソン、シュミット。はい、この12人ですね。
That was easy. If we eliminate the 12 jurors, we are left with 7 additional suspects.
7? It's still too many.
I agree. We must reduce our list.
Excuse my impatience, Poirot. It's as if my beautiful train is cursed. Can you exonerate any of the 7?
はい、ブークは違う。
Fantastic. Book worked hard to get me aboard the train. He is definitely not a suspect.
ミズロックも違う。
Right. Mademoiselle Locke cannot be a suspect. She pursued Mr. Wadi's murderer.
コンスタンティンも違うね。
Well done. Dr. Constantine alerted me to the 13th stab wound. He is not a suspect. I'm right again. That happens to me a lot. I have 4 suspects left who I must now examine more closely. Miss Nielsen, Monsieur Maury, Monsieur Fauché, and Countess Andrény.
One of my employees? Suspicious?
All three got off the train in Venice to restock supplies. Any one of them might have slipped away without being noticed.
I suppose. But what of Countess Andrény? You cleared her yourself.
She is cleared of the first murder, but we know little of her movements here in Venice. So, we still have 4 suspects to interview. Detective Locke?
I can't join you, Poirot. My chief saw something on the news about the case and my involvement. He's demanding an explanation. If I want to keep my badge, I have to call him.
Then you must do so by all means.
I'm sorry.
No need to apologize. I understand.
I'll make the call from my compartment. If you're looking for me, I'll be there.
はい、ジョアンナ、ちょっと一旦捜査から外れます。
Poirot, but I must. There is, of course, one other suspect with a motive for murder. The ransom money.
You mean Detective Locke? Then who did she chase? Who killed Aziz? We both saw the masked murderer standing over the body.
ミズ・ニールセンに事情聴取する。従業員のうちの誰かかな。はい。一番近いアンドレニ夫人に聴取してみよう。お、いましたね。あら、寝てる？
Doctor, I need to question Countess Andrény.
I'm afraid that won't be possible, Mr. Poirot. The Countess had an anxiety attack when we arrived in Venice. She was terrified the police would come for her and her husband, despite how you concluded your investigation. I had to give her a sedative. She has been sleeping since.
あ、じゃあ違うね。
Stayed with her all the time we were in Venice.
Count Andrény begged me to watch over her. I have not left this room.
You're the reason she's in this state.
Book voted to absolve you all. I accepted his verdict.
I told her. I tried to reason with her. What she has already suffered, the strain of these last few days, it was too much.
I understand, Count. It's quite all right. I have the answers I came for.
はい。アンドレニ夫人は容疑者から外れました。
Ah, Michel, I have a few more questions to ask you, if you will allow me.
Anything, Monsieur Poirot. We are in your debt.
あなたはベネチアで何をしていたのか。
Please tell me your movements when we were stopped at Venice Station.
Once the compartments were cleaned and the linen refreshed, I stayed in my quarters.
Did you notice anything special? Comings and goings?
Monsieur Bouc had asked everyone to stay in their compartments. I would occasionally walk the train to ensure everyone was comfortable. Oh, I saw Monsieur Maury was all alone loading his crates of provisions. A great chef like that, reduced to petty labor, I would have helped him. But Monsieur Bouc had ordered me not to leave the train for any reason. So, Monsieur Maury was forced to labor alone.
ラチェット殺害当夜の時系列。
Let us review the actual timeline of the night of Ratchet's murder, not the one manufactured to hide your crime.
I left the train in Minkowski for a smoke. Then I resumed my post. That was the truth. The train departed on schedule. But then, of course, an avalanche of snow blocked the tracks. At 12:45, Madame Hubbard and I met in her compartment to discuss how to adapt our plan.
Due to the snow and Poirot.
The little play we had staged for you had to be rewritten. I left your compartment at approximately 1:15.
Then the curtain went up. Calls in the night, the red kimono, all for my benefit.
And all for nothing, as it turned out.
Do not blame yourself, Michel. I am the theater critic no playwright wants to see in the audience.
もう一つの顔があったんですね、パーロ。ミスター森が一人で食材の箱を運んでいたというね、ちょっと怪しげな行動をしていたみたいです。まあ、怪しくはないか、食材だから。はい、ミスター・フォーシェ。
You play well. I didn't mean to interrupt you.
Thank you. Many years of piano lessons thanks to my mother. I try to play in a few clubs in Paris when I get the chance, but as you can see, it hasn't made me rich. What can I do for you?
Conversation only.
あなたはベネチアで何をしていたのか。
Tell me about your time in Venice.
I had Monsieur Book's permission to see my sister. She lives in Marghera, just outside of Venice. She had a baby a few weeks ago. This was my first chance to meet my new nephew.
Monsieur Book gave you permission?
Yes, you can ask him.
Most assuredly, I will. What time did you leave and when did you return?
I left around 9:10 p.m. I was back by 10:45 p.m. When I got back, Hotaru was in a lot of pain. I gave him a back massage.
That would have been enough time to kill Monsieur Wadi and return to the train.
それよりもホタルについての証言が怪しすぎましたね、今。ホタルが苦しそうにしていたって。はい、包丁を見せてもらう。
May I see your knives?
Of course, they are here.
If you don't mind.
Help yourself. They are under the bar counter.
カウンターの下ね。後で見ましょう。ラチェット殺害当夜の時系列。
Tell me again about your poker game the night of the murder.
It's a regular game to help relax after a long day. Let's see, we started around 11 p.m. We took a short break in Vinkovsky, Hotaru, Pierre, and I. The game finished up around 2 a.m. We'd all had quite a bit to drink. Ah, yes, I left for about 10 minutes to refrigerate champagne for the next day. That must have been around 1 a.m.
午前1時。まあ、ベネチアでは殺害して戻ってくるだけの時間はあったと。これですかね？刃物。
None of these come close to the wounds on either body.
あ、じゃあ違うじゃん。
Good evening, Monsieur Mori. May I have a moment of your time? I have a few questions to ask you.
Of course, as long as you don't mind if dinner is ruined.
I promise to be as brief as possible.
あなたはベネチアで何をしていたのか。
What did you do while we were stopped in Venice?
With Freya's help, I loaded fresh produce for the next part of our journey. Then, you may not believe this, but my job requires a lot of physical labor. My back suffers. Fortunately, John has become quite adept at separating my vertebrae.
ああ、そうか。そしたらフレヤに確認したらアリバイの裏取りは取れるんだ。包丁を見せてもらう。
As you may know, I have solved the murder of Monsieur Ratchet.
That is a shame.
I beg your pardon?
The bastard sent my steak tartar back, telling John I was to burn it.
I will add it to the list of his crimes. One wound on Monsieur Ratchet's body was struck by a very sharp, thin-bladed knife. We haven't found it yet.
You think one of mine was used?
I'd like to have a look if you don't mind.
In that drawer.
お、いっぱいある。
An impressive set of knives, but their blades are too wide to have been used for the crime.
ラチェット殺害当夜の時系列。
Tell me about your poker game the night of the murder.
We started around 11 p.m. When John finished his shift. We played until around 2 a.m. From what I remember, it's a bit vague.
You played without a break.
Actually, we did break once for a smoke. John, Pierre, and I. When we stopped in Vinkovsky.
When was that?
Around midnight?
3人でずっと一緒にいたのかな、そのタバコ吸うときに。一人だけポッと抜け出して部屋に行った可能性っていうのはないのかな。お、これは
Saffron. It must be worth a small fortune.
サフラン。あとはフレアですかね。いたいた。
Good evening, Mademoiselle Nielsen. May I talk to you for a moment?
Of course, Mr. Poirot. I'm not going to bed right away.
あなたはベネチアで何をしていたか？
Can you tell me your movements while we were stopped in Venice?
That'll be easy. I didn't move much at all. Let's see. I helped Hotaru load all of the food crates aboard the train. Hotaru had everything he needed, but I realized they forgot half of my order. I spent over an hour on the phone with the supplier without success. I had to change the dessert menu for tomorrow.
やっぱり運んでたんだ。じゃあ、ホタルとこの人は違うのかな？はい、包丁を見せてもらう。
Dr. Constantine found a stab wound on Ratchet's body that was caused by a much thinner and sharper blade than the others.
Possibly a chef's knife?
My thought precisely.
And you'd like to see my knives?
If you wouldn't mind.
I would gladly show you if I had any, but I don't. I use the regular kitchen knives. You may search if you don't believe me.
I see.
All the knives the staff use are in the kitchen or in the lounge, except Hotaru prefers to use his own.
Monsieur Mori doesn't use the kitchen knives?
Not usually. I know he keeps a set of traditional Japanese knives in a box in his room. He doesn't let anyone else use them. Although now that I think of it, he has been using the kitchen knives lately.
日本の伝統的な包丁出てきた。まあ、刀の文化がある国なので、そういう設定でもおかしくはないよね。ラチェット殺害当夜の時系列。
Can you tell me exactly about your poker game the night of the murder?
We started around 11 p.m. In Vinkovsky, we took a short break. Hotaru and Pierre went outside to smoke. Oh, and Hotaru got sick around a few minutes past 1 a.m. 1:10 a.m. maybe? He spent about 15 minutes in the bathroom, but he didn't want to quit on a losing streak.
Did his luck improve?
No, so we played to around 2 a.m. He lost every hand.
どうもちょっとホタルの動きが怪しいですね。この従業員の供述の時に誰かしらみんなホタルのこと言ってるよね。はい、それでは今回はここまでにしたいと思います。ちょっとね、13人目の殺人者、疑わしいのがホタルですね。まだわかんないけどね。全然違うかもしれないけど。それでは続き次回やっていきましょう。ご視聴ありがとうございました。じゃあねー。